Okay guys, we're going to continue to use equations of lines. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. And it's important to note we will always solve for b in these equations. Okay, so on this first one, right, equation of a line in slope-intercept form across through -4, 1. I have my x and my y value. Slope, which is m, all we have to do is plug in what we know. So I have my y, which is 1, y, 1 equals my slope, -3/2, times x, which is -4, plus b. Multiply this two together, should give me +6 plus b. Subtract 6 on both sides. B equals -5. Y equals -3/2 x minus 5. So if you have to plug this into Edpuzzle at all, just make sure that you put that slash in if you have a fraction for your slope, and then just write it exactly as you see it. That is your equation. Anytime it says equation of a line, just make sure it is slope-intercept form, and we should be good. Go ahead and do the next one. All right, when you plug in your information, you should be able to multiply 5/3 times 9 in your calculator to get 15, and bring that over to get b equals -10, and then you plug everything back in. Okay, now for example 2 here, looks like we don't have a slope, so we're going to have to find one. So if you guys recall, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, you can choose which one's going to be 0.1 and 0.2. I normally do the first one as 1, the second one is 2. Okay, so if I do my y values first, I'm going to have 4 minus 1 over, make sure we do our x values next. So like I said, I'm going bottom to the top. Just make sure you keep that same pattern. Your x values on the bottom, so it'd be 8 minus 4. Equals, so that would be 3/4. That's my slope. Okay, so from there, I can choose either point to choose, and it's to plug in, and it's going to look exactly like the previous example that we did up here. You can choose either one. Both of them should turn out the same way. I'm going to use 8 and 4 here. So I'm going to have 4 equals 3/4 times 8 plus b. Multiply. That would be 6 plus b. Subtract 6. B equals -2. And then you get y equals 3/4 x minus 2. For that. All right. Go ahead and do the next one. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, what is the slope between these points? Okay, so just remember, when you minus a negative, change this to a positive. So -1 plus 2 is actually 1 over 3 minus 4 is negative, or 3 minus 7 is -4. So that's my new slope. Okay, now go ahead and finish that and give the equation of the line. Okay, so if you see here, I plug these in, and now I actually use the decimal mode. So when I put this in my calculator, I got -0.75. If you did -0.8, that's fine too. So make sure you add it to both sides. Okay, then my b value is -1/4 plus 0.25. Now if we go back up to the top here, something a little bit different. Write an equation of a line of slope-intercept form that passes through, but that is perpendicular. So make sure you circle that. Perpendicular. Now if you think about it, if I have a line that crosses through -3, and it goes uphill, up 1, or up 4 over 1. Okay, it looks something like that. If I need perpendicular, perpendicular means a right angle. That's the symbol for it. All right, so if I were to take and rotate this, from what we learned with our rotations, the x's and y's switch. So my rise and my run flip-flop. So my first slope here is m equals 4, but then when I rotate it, and I need something that goes more this way, it's now going to go downhill. In order to make that slope, my new slope, the x and the y are going to reciprocate. So this is actually go to -1/4. All right, it goes negatives because since it goes uphill, it's going to switch to downhill. So in order for the slopes, you have to take the opposite reciprocal. Opposite reciprocal. Which means you just flip it and change the sign. Okay, then from there, you can plug in your point. So -7 equals -1/4 times 4 plus b, and it's the same as before. Add 1 to both sides, get b equals -6, y equals -1/4 x minus 6. Okay, now I'm going to ask you here, this is very similar, so I'm going to ask, what is the slope? Just the slope, not the whole equation. What is going to be the slope of the one that's through that point that's perpendicular to -4/3? Once you get that, then I'm going to ask you what your final answer is as well. So in order to get the slope, you have to take the opposite reciprocal, so your new slope is 3/4. So when you plug it in, you should get 3/4 x plus 15 as your answer. Or plus 1.5, I should say. Now, the last type of question we have are the ones that say parallel. So a line that's parallel to my original line. So when you think of parallel lines, if this crosses at -3 and is a negative slope, like so, okay, parallel to that would also have the same slope. So those will never intersect. It's almost like we're translating it up there. So I'm going to take this slope from the first line and always solve for b. This -3 right here has nothing, or that should be +3, so that should be up here. So this +3 or that y-intercept here should not affect my new line at all. That new 3 has nothing to do with it. So I always solve for b. So I'm going to go 8 equals m, which is -2/5, times x, which is -5, plus b. 8 equals, multiply, you should get +2 plus b, subtract, b equals 6. And you get y equals -2/5 x plus 6. Okay, go ahead and do example 4 here, and we will see how that one goes. Okay, so it looks like we already did number 4. That's why I paused there. So go ahead and do this last example, and then we will see what you get. So for your last one, you should get your slope of 5/6 because it's the same. Parallel means same. Perpendicular, again, opposite reciprocal. Then you should get 5/6 x minus 8.